All right, welcome back to Elite PremAir Virtual.com basic FMC training in the 737-800 made by PMDG. Okay, all right, we'll jump right in and pick up where we left off. On part 2, we had just finished examining our route in the FMC that we did via the legs page and stepping through the entire route to make sure that everything looked nice and smooth. Okay. All right. So after we've established that, we're going to click on our route page, and we're going to next page, because in our route called for a jet route to be placed in there. You don't place your jet routes in the legs page. You place your jet routes in the route page. Okay, so if any time you see in your flight plan you have jet routes, all right, place them in your route page. And in the flight plan, it went Winco to, okay, to Winco, then to J43. Then label. So if you follow it that way, okay, Winco 2 over to Winco, then go back here. J43 should be right here, because then next comes label. Right? So in your scratch pad, J43, and we'll put it right here. Alright, so now that basically completes our routing, and we want to click activate and execute. Okay, and if you notice that there was a blue perforated line showing our route has now turned to magenta. Alright, and you can confirm that again by going to the legs page. Alright, which will take us to the beginning of the route, and step through just a couple times, and you'll see what was blue or like an aqua perforated line is now solid magenta line. Alright, so let's go ahead and take the MFD off of plan, which is right here, and put it back to map. Okay, the map will get you back to the beginning of the route, and it'll show your orientation relative to your route. Alright, now that we've done that, next we want to go to init-ref. Okay, and you'll see a whole bunch of empty boxes here. The FMC is capable of flying the plane by itself. Okay, however, it's going to need to know a certain bit of information, okay, because it will climb and it will descend on its own. Okay, so you don't have to do much in the way of having the plane climb and descend. That's all going to be pre-programmed in the FMC, and your LNAV and your VNAV is going to take care of navigating you there, climbing you, and descending you. Alright, so the first thing that the FMC needs to know is your gross weight, and then it needs to know your zero fuel weight. Now, a very quick way of taking care of these two numbers is by double-clicking the zero fuel weight action button. Okay, and that puts the information in there. So I'll activate my scratch pad, and for reserves, let's say I want 2,000 pounds of fuel in reserves. I just put the number 2, and I drop that right here. Cost index. Let's talk about that for a second. Cost index, think of that as your gas pedal in your car. Okay, you can floor your pedal, okay, and you'll be using up a lot of gas to get where you're going. Or you could, be a little bit more conservative and press it down maybe quarter of the way, half the way, okay, and you won't be using up so much gas to get where you need to go. So think of the cost index as just that, your gas pedal. All right, how fast do you want to get there, and how much fuel do you want to use to get there. I happen to know Southwest, their cost index is 34, so they're pushing their gas pedal down about 34% to get where they need to go. So that's what we're going to enter here, 34, and we're going to drop it right into cost index. Next, we're going to look to the top right, and we need to enter in our cruise altitude. Okay, our cruise altitude today is going to be flight level 220. So all you have to do is drop 220 in your scratch pad and drop it in here. Okay, if you notice, it already had flight level 236, which is your optimum cruise altitude for the parameters that you've put in here for this flight. You should not go above the recommended cruise altitude. Okay, all right, so we've entered that information, and we're going to click execute. Next, we're going to hit N1 limit and then take off. We're not going to mess with anything on the N1 for now. We're just going to click take off. Alright, and this is your takeoff reference. It needs to know what degree of flaps you're going to be taking off with. I'm going to put 5%. Drop that in the scratch pad and drop it up here on the flaps. Okay, and center of gravity, it needs to know your center of gravity. Again, a quick way of taking care of this one is just double clicking it. Alright, and that puts the information in there. Next, we're going to look to the right, and we're going to enter in our V speeds. Once we enter the flaps and the center of gravity, okay, they gave you the recommended V speeds right here. So all we have to do is just click on each action button that corresponds with this line to drop the V speeds into the empty spaces here. So I'm just going to click first one, the second one, and then the third one. Okay. Alright. I'm going to deactivate the scratch pad, and okay, that should be it as far as programming the FMC with the basic information that you need to get your flight off the ground and to the destination airport. Okay. Alright, I like to activate my TCAS, so I'm going to look down to the transponder, and this white knob here, I'm going to right click on it so it can go all the way over to TARA, which is the last selection here. Okay, now I'm going to take it back off just to show you that on your MFD it says TCAS off. For those of you who don't know what TCAS is, that's your traffic collision avoidance system. So if there was another aircraft that you were on a possible collision course with, your TCAS would warn you either to climb or descend or to take some other action until the conflict was over. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put back on my TCAS. That's part one of putting it on. Second part of getting it to completely work for you is you're going to look back at the knob which changed the range on your MFD. This serves two functions. It changes the range, but it also puts on the traffic option here for your TCAS. So see where it says TA only. When I click TFC here in the middle, okay, now my TCAS is fully operational. Okay, so I've got TFC, T, and TA only. That's what you need to see. You've got the range rings, okay, around here that will help you out if you see a diamond somewhere in here that's going to represent another aircraft. Alright, so let's take the MFD down, and we're going to go over to your MCP, and we're going to enter in our cruise altitude, which is flight level 220. So I'm just right clicking on this knob here and the numbers are rolling over. Alright, good. Here we are at flight level 220. Alright, let's go back here to the left and turn on your captain's flight director, and all the way over here to the right we'll turn on the co-pilot's flight director as well. We're going to arm the auto throttle here. Okay, great. Okay, so for now we're going to let's see, turn on our lights. Oh, and also to pressurize the cabin. So let's first zoom in here and we'll turn on the strobe light, turn on these other lights here. Okay, and right in this section here in the overhead panel we'll put that to flight level 220. We'll appropriately pressurize the cabin. Okay. Alright, let's look back at the dash here, and at this time we're going to start to taxi out to the runway 26 left. I'll also put down some flaps. 3 clicks on the flaps will get me to the 5%, which that's going to be F7. So I'll just click F7 to incrementally move my flaps down. So I hit it 3 times. Alright, so let's go ahead and taxi out to the runway, and we're going to leave it right here, and we'll be back with part 4 of Elite PremAir virtual FMC training for the 737-800 made by PMDG. Again, if you like what you hear and if you like what you're seeing, visit us at elitepremiairvirtual.com, elitepremiairvirtual.com, and that information should be popping up right about now somewhere on the screen. Alright, so we'll see you in part 4.